Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me for this explainer today, because we are diving into a firsthand account of a journey that, frankly, completely redefines what untouched beauty actually means. We're going to explore Darma Valley. It's this incredibly remote, high-altitude region tucked away in Uttarakhand's India, deep in the Kuman Himalayas. The source we're looking at describes it as a literal terrestrial heaven. But as we're going to see, reaching this paradise and actually surviving in it is a profoundly unique experience that really challenges our modern way of living. So it brings up a fascinating question. What is the actual price of living in a terrestrial heaven? We see these breathtaking pictures of remote mountains online, and it's super easy to just focus on the beauty. But as we go through this journey today, I want you to really think about what daily comforts, what basic conveniences you'd actually be willing to sacrifice for a life surrounded by completely untouched natural splendor. Okay, let's dive right into this. The path to this paradise, it is no joke. Starting from Dehradun, which is the capital of Uttarakhand, you're staring down a grueling 700-kilometer journey. It takes at least 2 full days of travel just to reach the Pithoragarh district. And then you hit the final stretch. We're talking incredibly dangerous cliffside roads carved straight into the crumbling rock, with thousands of feet of gorge literally plunging right below you. Loose stones are always falling, and get this, travelers, including the author of our source, often end up sitting on the actual roof of local taxis just to make the trip. But if you endure all of that, you finally arrive at Dantu village, easily the most beautiful settlement in the entire Darma Valley. And the payoff? It's immediate. Imagine arriving at dusk, going to sleep, and then waking up the next morning to be greeted by 5 breathtaking peaks. Our traveler describes being completely captivated. These are the towering peaks of Panchachuli, and they're all visible together, so unbelievably close that it feels like the entire Himalayan mountain range is just chilling right in your front yard. The positioning of Dantu village is absolute perfection. Even a village just 1 kilometer down the road doesn't get this exact majestic framing. Now, living right under the shadow of those peaks completely flips your perspective on what a good life actually is. Think about it. In the city, our idea of luxury is so heavily tied to man-made devices, right? We buy expensive water purifiers for clean drinking water, air purifiers just to breathe safely, and ACs to keep the temperature perfectly balanced. But in Darma Valley, luxury is 100% organic. Your tap water, it comes directly from melting glaciers. The mountain air is perfectly clean, and the climate is naturally refreshing. It's incredible, and it really forces us to reevaluate our definition of true luxury. And this is a big but, accessing that natural luxury requires a massive amount of physical labor. Surviving here means facing some harsh, off-grid realities every single day. There are zero tarmac or even gravel roads. And sure, there's a diesel generator somewhere, but there's no actual electricity flowing through the power lines. Families have to rely on basic solar panels, which barely charge tiny electronics. They are completely useless for heavy appliances. And since solar water heaters are way too expensive, the locals use what they call tandoori geysers. Imagine wanting a hot bath and having to go outside, chop wood, and build a fire to heat water in what is essentially a wood-fired oven. It's a tremendous amount of hard work, just for the absolute bare basics. Oh, and if you're wondering about checking your emails or staying connected, well, hello, brother, the network is here. I'm not kidding. That is literally painted on a rock just outside the village. There is absolutely zero internet inside the village itself, and the mobile towers only manage basic calling. So the locals figured out that there is one very specific spot out in the landscape where a tiny sliver of mobile data actually trickles through. They literally have to hike out of the village, leave their phones sitting on the rocks next to this sign to download messages, and then hike back later to pick them up. Wild, right? This kind of profound isolation really shapes the people who live there, specifically the Rung tribe. For them, a strong community isn't just a nice, warm concept, it is a strict survival strategy. It's the bedrock of their entire existence. Because there are no markets or hospitals for miles and miles, they rely entirely on each other, living in deeply connected joint families. They do everything themselves, practicing completely self-sustaining organic agriculture right outside their stone and mud houses. Our traveler even saw them harvesting fresh garlic, radishes, and these incredibly rare, beautiful violet-colored potatoes. Growing their own food and leaning on these communal bonds isn't a choice, it's what they literally have to do to survive. But this extreme physical isolation has actually acted like a protective shield for them. It's beautifully preserved their unique cultural identity. A perfect example of this is the Chambala. This is the vibrant traditional dress of the Rung tribe. And what's amazing is that you don't just see the chambala being worn by the people. Its intricate design is actually painted right onto the walls of their traditional stone and mud homes. It's like their cultural heritage is woven directly into the very architecture of the village itself. And it is so incredible how just a couple of simple words can bridge a massive cultural gap. Janula, that is the traditional greeting of the Rung tribe. During his time in Dantu, our traveler really made an effort to learn and use this. Just by clasping his hands and saying Janula instead of the standard Hindi namaste, he was able to connect so much more deeply with the locals. It showed genuine respect for their specific heritage, and it instantly broke down those invisible barriers between a city tourist and a remote mountain community. Okay, so connecting with the people is one part of the magic here. But connecting with the mountain itself, that's a whole different beast. To actually get closer to those towering peaks, you have to tackle the Panchachuli base camp trek. You literally start ascending straight out of Dantu village, pushing your way through these surprisingly dense pine forests that are just alive with bird song and beautiful filtered sunlight. Eventually, you break through the tree line, emerge into these vast, high-altitude green meadows, and finally arrive at the magnificent zero-point glaciers. Now, those high-altitude meadows I just mentioned, they have a specific name in Uttarakhand, bugyals. These are incredibly lush, green alpine pastures, and they are absolutely stunning. But the grass here isn't just pretty to look at, it's famously comfortable. The locals harvest and dry this specific meadow grass and literally stuff it into their bedding to make natural mattresses. Our traveler actually laid down in the bugyals during the hike, and he said the thick, soft grass literally feels like you're resting on a cloud. But get this, these bugyals aren't just a nice resting spot for tired hikers. Local sheep herders actually spend up to 3 entire months living straight through in these remote pastures. They pack up all their tents, 3 months' worth of rations, and they hike all the way up with hundreds of sheep to let them graze. When the traveler asked a herder about this grueling lifestyle, the herder said it's a mix of compulsion and peace. I mean, it is a massive, exhausting undertaking to live nomadically in the high mountains for a quarter of the year, but the profound tranquility you find up there, it just makes it all worthwhile. So, pushing past the bugyals, the valley eventually ends at what they call 0 point. This is where you are literally sitting right in the lap of the peaks. You watch as melting glaciers transform into countless, endless waterfalls right in front of your eyes. Freezing, fresh water just pouring down the mountain faces. The source mentions that the sheer volume of these waterfalls looks almost unreal, like you're looking at a CGI effect in a movie. It really cements that feeling that you've stumbled into a literal slice of heaven. But this heaven is also incredibly fragile. Right in the middle of all that breathtaking beauty at 0 point, the traveler noticed something really alarming. Deep, tearing cracks right in the mountain ground, which are serious warning signs of dangerous collapses. And yes, while erosion is a natural process, the increasing frequency of these mountain collapses is a stark reminder of human negligence. Seeing the ground literally tearing itself apart is a physical, undeniable warning that this pristine ecosystem is right on the verge of breaking if we don't treat it with absolute respect. Which perfectly sets up this incredibly powerful quote from the source material. Listen to this. If this mountain exists, then we exist. If it doesn't, then neither do we. Wow. That isn't just some poetic metaphor. It is the literal, undeniable truth for the Rung tribe and everyone in the surrounding villages. Their existence isn't separate from the mountain. They are entirely dependent on its stability and its health. To really grasp why they are so dependent, you have to look at everything the mountain provides for them. It acts as a massive physical barrier that protects the village from extreme weather. It's the literal source of the rivers. It provides that direct glacial drinking water we talked about, and it nourishes the very soil that sustains their entire self-reliant food supply. This is exactly why responsible tourism is absolutely crucial here. When visitors come up and litter or disrespect the land, they aren't just ruining a pretty view. They are actively threatening the life support system of the people who call Darma Valley home. And, back down in the village, the human element of this valley shines just as brightly as those mountain peaks. Take kotu, for example. It's this traditional, highly nutritious pancake made from locally grown buckwheat. And just a beautiful display of hospitality, our traveler was actually recognized by a local subscriber to his content, a woman who usually works in the city of Noida but was back home visiting her family in Dantu. Even though they were basically strangers, her family invited him right into their home for a warm communal breakfast of kotu. It just goes to show that in this deeply isolated valley, the warmth of human connection and generous hospitality is a massive part of who they are. But despite all this wonderful hospitality, our traveler was still chasing one final elusive goal. And he ended up waiting 7 whole days for it. For a full week, he woke up at the crack of dawn every single morning, just hoping to catch the famous sunrise over the Panchachuli peaks. But as we know, the mountains are entirely unpredictable. For 7 straight days, the weather just flat out refused to cooperate. Heavy cloud cover and fog kept the view completely hidden, testing his patience to the absolute limit. Finally, on his very last morning, the skies cleared up, and it revealed exactly why they are called Panchachuli, which translates to 5 stoves. You see, during a clear sunrise, the very first light hits the snow, and all 5 peaks turn this brilliant, fiery golden color. They literally look like 5 glowing stoves set against the dawn sky. It is a breathtaking climax to the entire journey. It's the singular moment where the sheer scale and beauty of the Himalayas just reveal themselves in their full, magnificent glory. So, that brings us to a final thought I want to leave you with today. Does nature reveal its true value only when we have the patience to wait for it? For a week, it felt like the traveler was just waiting around for the sunrise. But honestly, perhaps the sunrise was waiting for him. Waiting for the exact moment when he truly understood the price, the immense effort, and the sheer patience required to appreciate its worth. Darma Valley, as we've seen, isn't just a destination on a map. It's a profound lesson in patience, in the beauty of organic living, and in our deep, absolute, necessary connection to this fragile earth beneath our feet. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and as always, keep exploring.